Hey guys, so this is part 2 of my what do I love stroke hate about living in the United States. Alright, so I know if you're in a different part of the world, you've heard about all the craziness that goes on in this nation, but I'm just gonna list my top 5 things that I absolutely hate about living in the United States. Second stay, I'll be right back. So the top thing that I hate living in the United States is racism and discrimination. So I think a lot of people will not usually put America in the category of top racist countries in the world, but this country is like a bad example of what racism is. Is that a bad example? A good example of what a racist nation is. Now the racism in this country is so peculiar because there are, there's so many different kinds of people, so many different colors and stuff. Something that I never really took notice of, something that never bothered me. It still doesn't really bother me, until some stupid occurrence happens. But there are people that are in this country that are like Caucasians who don't like people that are like me who are black. That's a whole history. But there are groups actually dedicated to hating black people. And there are some black people who absolutely hate white people. There are actually groups that are there to purposely hate white people. I have met a Latina woman who hates black people. She threw me and my boss out of her house. A Latina, a Hispanic person whose ancestry is African, hates African people. And the craziest part of it is the discrimination. There's some African Americans that I have personally met who despise African people. And that's the thing that goes on. And there are some Africans who absolutely despise African American people. So it's this whole mumbo jumbo of nonsense that goes on in the country. Now someone would say how does that affect your living, bro? It affects your living here because I have personally been to an interview where the recruiter, we had a good conversation. I'm gonna make a whole video about this topic, but I didn't get the job because according to him, his other people can't say my name. He wanted me to change my name in order to get that job. Now, if that is not discrimination, I don't know what it is. But that's one thing I hate about living in the United States. The racism, the discrimination for something that you were born with. Your skin tone, something that you cannot change, something that you cannot run away from. It's horrible. I try as much as possible to distance myself from people that do that. But the thing about it is that you never know who just hates you simply because of the skin tone that God gave to you. So that's one thing I hate about living in the United States. Very important, I stressed it in my first video, is the stress, the illness, and the depression that goes on in this country. Now, the way the system is designed, it is a rat race. It is you live from your paycheck to your paycheck to your paycheck. Now, you can break out of that cycle. A lot of people have broken out from that cycle, but it involves a lot of stress in yourselves, which it leads you to getting ill. There's a lot of depression, and people think, oh, this is a white person's disease. It's not a white person's disease. I have personally heard about some immigrants who were some people just commit suicide out of that depression. There are very high suicide rates in this country because of the depression and the illnesses that they have. There's some illnesses that I had never heard of before that I've heard of in this country. I just think it is a lot of stress that causes people to have these illnesses. That's just my opinion because I've actually been affected by that. So the thing that I also hate is the weather. Me coming from the tropics, it's summer all day long, summer all year long. When it rains, it's a little sweater weather, but it's not crazy. Sometimes it gets so chilly that I guess your bones are chilled. Your ears are frozen. It's horrible. It's the weather is extreme. When it's hot, it's extremely hot and stuffy. and when it's cold, it's extremely cold. It's like, I live in New York, so there's no like in between. Like in between is like spring right now, but I'm kind of hot and I'm still kind of cold. It's like so confusing. So that's the one thing, one of the things I also hate about it. Also say is that there's this guy that's actually running for nomination for the Republicans. He's actually called John Kasich. He said something. He said America is a very lonely place, and sometimes he goes on his campaign trail and people just want to hug. This country is a very lonely country. There's a certain stillness about the country. Very, I don't know. When you go outside of the country, you go to the Caribbean, you go to Africa, there is a sort of like harmonious like feeling. And if you're somebody that picks up on energy, you understand what I'm saying. This country is a very lonely country. You can be surrounded by your family 24/7. It still feels like you're the only one in it. And I feel like loneliness, it breeds again a lot of illness. It breeds a lot of like thinking about things that you're not supposed to be thinking about. So yeah, that's one thing that I honestly hate. Bills. Like you can make your bills low, but it's like wherever you turn, you have to be paying something all the freaking time. Like your phone's gotta be paid. Like there's nothing like, there are not prepaid things. You know how in other countries you have prepaid things where you pay about for them so you don't worry about them at the end of the month? No. Not in this country. Everything has to be paid. Like everything demands something, everything wants something. It's like a bunch of freaking like bills. Everything is also so routine. Like it's like everything is so routine. You can take mini vacations, like unless like you do your own job or whatever, but for the average person, you can't take mini vacations like I'm going to somewhere for 2 days. No, you're gonna lose your job by the time you come back. Like they don't do that stuff in this country. So again, it leads to a very routine life. It's something that I absolutely, the thing that I think is very important I want to talk about is the family system in America. The family system in America does not work. I mean, it does not work. There's a broken family system here. Like back home, like I could literally go to my cousins and I could be there for days and weeks and nobody would like throw you out. Nobody would ask for anything. It's like that's your family. In my language, we don't even have a word for the word cousin. It's not even a word. That's your sister, that's your brother. There's no word. But here, the family system is so broken. There isn't harmony as I've seen it. There isn't harmony in the family system. It doesn't work. That the kind of family that Americans have is not what a family is in my mind. It's what I say. When you have a family, everybody is your family. Like even people that you've known for way long, they don't become friends, they become actual family members. But here it doesn't work. You can stay in someone's house for so long, they're gonna kick you out. Like it's just like, it's really different, it's really odd, and I absolutely hate that the family system that's not working. Even your own cousins come here and they kind of like follow that American family system, and it's like you don't see them for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is not what we usually do like in other countries. So yeah, the family system doesn't really work. It's just really concerned because a whole nation is gonna work if the family system works. That's what I believe. Another, the violence and I'll say terrorism, because 9/11 happened in this country. It happened in New York in this country. Like it is, the United States is always a target for any group that it's not like their systems or doesn't like whatever it is that you're about, or doesn't like the fact that America likes interfering in people's business. This country is always a target, so it's something that is really concerning. Like you always have to have it in the back of your mind. Like you always have to make sure like you have an exit route or something. Like it's something that is really scary. It's a lot of crime, it's a lot of violence. Just people like usually believe like, well, if I don't hurt nobody, nobody will hurt me. Like that's not the truth. Like you get mugged, people like just run up to you and steal. Not saying there's not crime in other countries, but it is a very foreign concept to me. Like just people like kidnapping people, keeping them in your basements for like 10 plus years. It's like, it was a really new concept to me. So you have to be super careful, especially if you have kids. It's like a very difficult place to raise kids, so you gotta be super careful. I just really don't enjoy a lot of things, a lot of these things that are involved in living in the United States. But yeah, if you have experienced some of these things, or you want to add some other things, you can absolutely, you know, leave in the comment section. But not that saying everywhere in the world has good and bad, but these are the things that I personally hate about living in the United States. My name is Nana Ashanti. You can follow me on Instagram at Nana Ashanti. I will be back here with my next video and my final video in the Coming to America series. If you have any questions, leave it below, and I'll catch you in my next video.